But just to let you know that the meeting is not being live streamed due to a technical issue. However, members can join via Teams in the usual way and listen and speak. There's no planned evacuation drill this evening. And accordingly, if the alarm sounds, it is to be treated as a genuine need to evacuate. There are emergency exits to my right and opposite the lifts. On exiting, you will be directed to the assembly point, and it is important that you remain there and do not return to the building until I've announced that it's safe to do so. If anyone present will need assistance in evacuating, could you please inform me now so that we can make the necessary arrangements to assist you? Members must consider each application and everything that is said in the meeting concerning the application and make their decision based solely on their planning judgment on the information available to them. Following a decision by members, delegated authority is given to the planning officer to issue the decision notice. Planning permission is not granted or refused until the issue of that decision notice. Any member of the council who is not a member of the planning committee may attend as a visiting member and may speak having given prior notification. Such visiting members may of course include ward members, and whilst visiting members can speak on an application, they are not permitted to vote. Any member acting as a substitute on the planning committee must have undertaken appropriate training before doing so. Members must remain in the meeting for the whole item, but each item is being debated, and should not vote on that item unless they have done so. I would now like to welcome our public speakers and remind you that you have 30 minutes to speak, and an audible warning of time will be given when there are 30 seconds remaining. If a meeting is deferred to conduct a site meeting, you may speak both at this meeting and at the site meeting, and when it comes back to the planning committee. Okay, item 2, apologies for absence and substitutes.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Kieran Golding. His substitute is Councillor Anne Kavanagh. Councillor Claire Martin, her substitute is Councillor Charles Gibson. Councillor Richard Palmer, his substitute is Councillor Derek Carnell. Councillor Elliot James, his substitute is Councillor Chris Palmer. Councillor Shelley Cheeseman is the substitute for the vacant seat. Councillor Julian Speed and Councillor Andy Booth did say that he may be late. If he was, I was to give his apologies.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, to invite members' declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests and disclosable non-pecuniary interests under the Code of Conduct adopted by the Council. I would like to remind the meeting that where it is possible that a fair-minded and informed observer, having considered the facts, would conclude that there was a real possibility that a member might be predetermined or biased on any agenda item, the member should declare this possibility and then leave the room whilst the item is considered. Right. Councillor Thompson, did you want to?
Yes, that'd be a case with, I've got to find it now. It's 2.2. Yeah, so I'll be speaking as a local ward councillor.
Thank you. Okay, part B, reports for the planning committee to decide. First item is 502132/ADV, Christine House, London Road, Upchurch. Oh, yeah, we've got to speak. I'm going to ask the officer to provide a summary, please. Just like to confirm that whilst the report states the site is located within Bobbing Highway and Lower Halstow, that should read Hartlip, Newington and Upchurch, and for the avoidance of doubt, the correct ward members and parish council have been consulted.
Chair, if I may, in your introduction, I take it you did mean 3 minutes for public speakers and not 30, as you mentioned.
Thank you for letting me clarify that. Yes, 3 minutes.
Good evening. Okay. Okay, this application is for an advertisement consent for eternally illuminated fascia signage and eternally illuminated totem signage. Ah, that's better. Okay, my apologies. Right, let's get this move forward. Okay, here you have the site, which is central here. There's another garage here, and we have a aerial photograph here with the site here. There's another garage here and a further garage down the road with the A2 running essentially east to west. Okay, here you've got the main building with a sign 1, 2, 3 on the building and the totem signage set back from the road here. Here is the 3 on the left-hand side, the 3 signs on the building and the totem sign. Here you have the elevations showing the 3 signs on the building. Because of the angle, this sign it's at an angle, which is why it's shown on the side here. Here's a photograph showing the signage on the building, the totem, and there's another totem on the adjacent garage here, which also has signage on that building. Here we have the 1, 2, 3 pieces of signage. This shows you the adjacent garage, which has got the totem and signage. Then here is the Mazda garage further down the road, and that's got illuminations, and also you can see the large lighting poles along the A2. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just confirm which of those other signs that you showed us were illuminated on the other buildings?
On this, that has got permission. I drove past this earlier this evening to do a double check. There is illuminations on here, and although this was not illuminated, there was a recent appeal where the inspector granted that to be illuminated, but at the moment it wasn't when I drove past. And on here, that was a similar situation. There was illuminations on here on the actual building, but I believe this is also illuminated, but it wasn't when I drove past.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask Upchurch Parish Councillor Gary Rosewell to speak? I think you know the drill, so.
Good evening all. Upchurch Parish Council discussed this, and the councillors have considered the application and said it would be disappointing if there were harmful illumination in the countryside gap. Harmful illumination should be avoided at all costs, and there should be no illumination outside of trading hours. This was our original objection that we put in. However, we were advised to reconsider because we were told that they were likely to win on an appeal. So, following the advice provided by Swale Planning, which highlighted changes to the lighting times, the positioning of the lights, the light levels, along with potential appeal based on the existing external lighting in the Suzuki garage next door, Upchurch Parish Council has decided, albeit reluctantly, to withdraw its objection. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move the officer's recommendation. Then chant up. Second, thank you, Councillor Winklis. Anybody like to open the debate? Councillor Winklis?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I can't see we've got any grounds to turn this down. As far as I'm aware, there are no residential properties in the immediate vicinity. And as we just heard from the Speaker of the Parish Council, they have now basically not objecting. So I'm going to count the officer's recommendations. Thank you.
Just to clarify, it's Hartlip Parish Council which is maintaining.
Sorry, thanks for correcting me. Hartlip, thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Thompson?
So does it currently, under the appeal, does it currently have hours for that illumination
Do we have
for the
any
others?
limitations on the appeal?
No.
I'm not sure. I'll be totally honest. I don't want to misdirect you.
Okay.
Councillor Palmer?
So yes, this application falls within my ward and I drive past it regularly during the day and in the evenings. And I'm along with Tony or Councillor Winklis really. They are an eyesore. It's a shame a precedent was ever set with the other illuminations. But thinking about it, there's no point in refusing it if it's going to go to appeal and win. So I should be voting for it.
Just to confirm, condition 8, the advertisement approved shall only be illuminated between 8 AM to 1 AM Monday to Thursday and 8 AM to 3 AM Friday to Sunday. There's no more speakers. Take a vote. Those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Item 2.2, 500 439/hybrid, land adjacent to Hulk Cottage, Bogdale. If we can ask for an update from the officer, please.
Good evening all. So this is a hybrid application seeking planning permission for 6 dwellings on this currently a paddock field known as land adjacent to Hulk Cottage on Brogdale Road, just to the south of Faversham. This is just a location plan of the site. You can see that there are some existing dwellings to the north and the M2, which runs along the southern boundary of the site to the south. This location plan which shows, an aerial image which shows the proximity of the site to both the M2 and also the large residential development scheme, which is currently under construction for approximately 460 houses just to the northwest there. So the scheme, as mentioned, it's for 6 dwelling units, although 5 of those are sought with outline consent, with only 1 dwelling being considered today for full planning permission. That dwelling is identified as plot 1, which is in the kind of northeastern corner of the site there. The image to the right shows that plot being identifies that plot as being separate from the rest of the site. Under the full matters is also they're seeking permission for the access to the site as well. To show you some images, so these are the plans for plot 1. Elevations to the left hand side there, with the floor plans and the roof plan in the middle, and to the right is a garage building with annex accommodation above. Here is a proposed, indicative section of the site as looking from Brogdale Road. The top image is looking at the indicative layout from inside the site, with the bottom taken from Brogdale Road itself with the topography and intervening kind of natural vegetation taken into account. Here is to the left is just a plan showing the proposed access. And it gives a fairly faint outline, but it shows that it's been designed to account for large vehicles entering the site, such as emergency vehicles and refuse trucks, so they can enter the site and turn around and exit in the same gear. To the right is some indicative designs of the dwellings that were represented in the proposed site layout as plots 2 to 6. Although, as these are reserved matters, that's not up for final designs that are up for consideration today. Moving on to some images. These are some photos of the site taken from the bridge that goes over the M2 just to the south of the site. And then some images from the pavement along Brogdale Road. The top left image is looking at Hout Cottage, which forms part of the site and lies to the north along its boundary. This is taken from the current access to Hout Cottage, just to give an idea of the visibility displays that are on offer. So the left-hand image is looking south along Brogdale Road and the right to the north. This is an image of a public footpath on the left-hand image that runs along the southern boundary of the site. And the right-hand image is taken looking into the site from that southern boundary. Now that footpath also runs diagonally across the field to the west of the site, and that image to the left is taken looking back at the site, just to show some of the existing kind of screening that's provided by the hedgerows there. And then to the right is Hout Cottage itself. That's the end of the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask Mr. Alex Bodman to speak, please? You have 3 minutes when you press the button, and then there will be a 30-second warning.
My name is Alex Bodman, and I'm an architect from OSG Architecture, acting as the agent on the application on behalf of our clients, Mark and Trevor Wells. Mark and Trevor are a local family-owned developer committed to providing high-quality and sustainable homes. The application is for 6 new homes, 5 of which are self-build/custom build, and 1 of which is market sale. As the case officer report highlights, this is a small development in a sustainable location on the edge of Faversham, and adds to a variety of homes available locally to meet the council's housing needs. The scheme was originally submitted in January 2024, following a positive pre-application advice meeting. The application submission included various modifications made as per the case officer's pre-application recommendations. Since then, we have continuously worked with the local authority to develop the scheme. This has resulted in 1 unit being removed from the proposals following the urban design officer's original comments, and more of the site being given to self-build homes to address the significant local need on the self-build register. We have received no neighbour objections on this application, and we have worked directly with the adjoining neighbour to ensure their concerns have been appeased, adding fencing along their boundary to ensure no headlight glare enters their property. We have attended an Ospringe Parish Council meeting to discuss the objections raised and actively work with the Parish Council. We would therefore like to take the opportunity to thank the officers with their help in developing these proposals, and to thank the members for their time in reviewing and discussing the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, you're going to speak as the ward member.
Yeah, as ward member and representing Ospringe Parish Council. I am, hold on, let me get my little boundary bits. As you will see from the planning officer's report, it is acknowledged that the site is outside settlement boundaries and therefore contrary to policy ST3 of the local plan. Unlike the planning officer, the parish council does not think that there are sufficient reasons to override this policy breach. The other points I'd like to raise are part of it's on best and most versatile land. It does not deliver what we need. It's all luxury housing. In what's outlined, obviously, we can't discuss that because it's not there. Doesn't seem to be enough discussion again about what we need for housing. It's more a case of profit making from luxury homes. In its current form, I advise a rejection. I feel it's not an exceptional build. Orientation and placing isn't very good. That doesn't work well for solar gain and thermal massing. The outline's too vague and it affects the spirit of place because as you come over the M2, basically it's a rural vision and then it becomes housing. That would disappear because one, when you walk the path, it would be housing. Two, as you come over the bridge, you're then instantly entering housing rather than trees before you enter Faversham. So it would be, for me, another case of urban sprawl. It would then also mean the spirit of place for Brogdale would be lost because there would then be interconnectedness of housing all the way along Brogdale Road, which is something we were trying to avoid. And again, design is just a pastiche of sort of 20s and 30s. There's nothing exceptional about the build, nothing about local materials. So for me, in its current form, I would like to reject the proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll move the officer's recommendation. It's not seconded. Oh, it is. Oh, threw us into a panic then. Seconded by Councillor Martin. Okay, a couple of questions. Because this is self-custom build application, can we just have an explanation of how that would work in terms of design and what the difference is between non-self custom build?
In terms of design, do you mean the actual physical appearance of the building?
Yes.
In terms of the actual design, the self and custom build is mainly to do with the kind of tenancy and ownership of the properties, but it would be the final design would more be subject to kind of consideration by future occupiers of each plot rather than that could be designed out at the minute. So those kind of elevations that are shown in the plan are all kind of subject to change, but it would be dependent on individual occupiers purchasing the relevant plots.
And how will that come forward as planning applications in future? Would each one have to come through separately, or would how does that work?
Chair, effectively each future occupier would buy a plot, would submit a reserve matters application within the parameters of the outline permission that is hereby granted. And then when those applications come in, obviously we want to see a piecemeal development of 7 separate dwellings of completely different designs. So it would be the case that when the reserve matters are considered, you take each plot case by case and assess how it would sit in the context of it, what else has been approved at the plot already.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, any questions? Oh, well, I'll focus on this side. I think Councillor Gibson got there first.
Thank you. I'm very quick, hopefully. How many people are on our self-build and custom build register if this is filling a need?
Do we have that information? No.
That is from a bit of work I was doing recently where I was looking at a figure, and I definitely want to double check that for somebody to hold me to it.
We think it is in excess of 6. Okay, I'll take Councillor Hunt next, I think.
Thanks, Chair. I've just got just want some clarification because self-build and custom build are both, to my understanding, different things. And we've got an application that says both. When we look down at the conclusion on this in, where is this? 7.12.9. The application is therefore recommended for approval subject to conditions set out below, planning obligation to secure the self-build housing. And elsewhere in the report is mentioned self-build housing, not custom build. So, and also in the conditions, I can't see anything that's saying that this has to be self-build or custom build as well. So can I just get clarification? What actually is it? Are these self-build? Because that seems to be what's being said. Or are they going to be custom build? Because my understanding is the custom build would all be in one set thing of how they're going to be and then sold out to individuals who can then customize it, which is different to be self-build and going out to each individual plot. So I just want to make sure that what we are, if we do approve it tonight, what actually it is.
Can we have some clarity on that, please?
Meanwhile, it appears 122 is the self-build register.
122 on the self-build register.
Sorry.
Through
you, Chair, the Self-Build and Custom House Building Act 2015 addresses them largely in one definition. Because in this act, self-build and custom house building means the building or completion by individuals, association of individuals or persons working with or for individuals of houses to be occupied as homes by those individuals. So it's an umbrella term that we've perhaps used in shorthand. We've said.
Councillor Hunt?
Is there anything, because I couldn't see anything in the conditions to make sure that, okay, this is to be approved as that, but is there anything to make sure that absolutely these will come forward as custom build or self-build?
Do we?
Through you, Chair, there's a, it'd be addressed by the Section 106.
So is there a way of, because we're meeting, this is potentially being allowed because it meets an otherwise exceptional need or unmet need. What we wouldn't want is, having given outline planning, it then comes back for 6 standard houses. So a way we can indicate that the application is being granted because it's self-custom build?
Through you, Chair, we could put an informative onto that effect, but it would be covered by the Section 106 agreement, which should have that which should address that entirely.
Okay, are we agreed to put that on as an informative? Are you all following this conversation closely? Excellent. Councillor Martin.
I was going to make the point that I know that we have a number of people on our self-build register waiting. Really hate the sound of my own voice. It would be nice, wouldn't it? I will finish off what I was going to say, which is that I'm aware that we have a number on the self-build register. This fulfills that need. There is quite a number in and around the Faversham area that was brought in through the housing needs assessment that was carried out by the Community Land Trust as part of the development of Faversham's neighbourhood plan. There is not the land within the Faversham boundary, and I will admit it is about 100 metres from the border with Watling Ward. Don't get me wrong, I would love to maintain the rural feel coming into the ward on that stretch, but I think this fills a need that we've identified, and it's right that we utilise what is there. And actually, I think given the size of the dwellings that are already in that section of Brogdale Road, and you do have a gap on that side thereafter till you reach the Matthew Holmes site, Brogdale Gardens, Brogdale Place, which again is quite away from the road, I don't think it's going to be too intrusive in that regard, especially given hedging and planting. So, okay by me.
Okay, thank you. Let's take to 727 and talks about the mix of tenures and sizes. That's quite obviously not going to meet our recommendations. Again, this is outline. We're giving permission, potentially, or if we're giving permission, is there any way that we can tie that outline to something more specific in the mix? If they came back with five bedroom houses, are we stuck to that? Can we say that we would be looking to see at least 1 2-bed in amongst it or something? Is that a reasonable condition?
Through you, Chair, we could, however, as set out 7.27 in the report, there's a established need for housing of all sizes, and in this case, there'd be a fair prospect that a 2-bedroom house would be incongruously different sized to the other dwellings surrounding it, and so rather than appearing as a more cohesive development, to have a little brother on the same development as several big brothers would have the potential to be visually unacceptable. In this case, we're of the opinion that there's enough supply for housing that, although not according with the preferred mix, it's still acceptable as proposed.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Those in favour of the officer's recommendation, please show. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? That's 3 of us. And I don't think there's room for any abstentions then, apart from Councillor Thompson, who took no part in the debate. Okay, thank you. That is passed. The next item is 2.3, but we're going to take 2.4 first. Apparently. Right, this is reference 502-378, full 34 Key Street. Can we have the officer update, please?
Yes. Right, this is 34 Key Street, Sittingbourne, and okay, let's start again. Okay, this is 34 Key Street, Sittingbourne, and this is a consequence of the original property was not built as per plan. So if we go through this. Okay, here we have the site plan. You've got the A2 at the north with the site as per the plot as built. You've got the Key Street roundabout just on the left hand up here. And here is an aerial plan. So you've got the roundabout over here. This is the A2, and the Pine Lodge care home is here. You've got a number of terrace properties along the A2, and then there's a cul-de-sac to the rear. And then you've got a garage here, which is set in front or to the rear, depending on your perspective, to the site. Here we have the elevations showing the okay, let's go through slowly. Here's the elevations of the development. Here we've got the east-facing elevation of the permission that was originally granted in 2021 compared to the proposal, which shows you the difference in height. Going through this, the difference in height is you've got plot 1, which is, where are we? Here, or let's do this one. Plot 1 and plot 2. So the roof height here has been raised by 0.3 of a metre, and here is 0.4 of a metre. And the eaves have been raised here by 0.7 and here by 0.8. So this is the front. That is the front elevation, which is facing onto the road. That is the rear elevation, and that is the elevation, the west elevation, which faces onto the nursing home. And I've got some photographs here. So on the left-hand side, you've got the elevation facing onto the road. On the right-hand side, you've got the rear elevation, which is facing, well, it's adjacent to the neighbour at the rear's garage. This is the east elevation within the site. And here you've got the relationship of the two properties to the nursing home. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move the officer's recommendation. No seconder. Thank you, Councillor Martin. I asked for this one to be called in mainly because I wanted us to consider the next application. I also think that this is a deviation from what was permitted, and I think it may potentially have impact on neighbours. So I would ask that a site visit is held, simply because I think to judge the impact, you need to be able to see from a neighbour's gardens what is likely to be the impact on it. So unless we have a photo from a neighbour's garden, no, we didn't see one in the list.
One of the properties of the neighbour.
Right, you haven't got any from Cherryfields, have you? That is from Cherryfields. Okay.
Is that the cul-de-sac to the rear?
Yeah.
Yes, that is from Cherryfields.
Okay, so I think it's the impact, if it's going to be felt, would be felt in Cherryfields, given the elevations. I just think a site visit would enable a clear understanding. Can you also show me the other photo again, where the two buildings are very close? Yeah, that seems. I'm quite surprised about that. That looks unrealistically close. I mean, is there a gap between the two buildings?
There is a gap, yes.
It might be helpful on a site visit to get an understanding of that as well, because it looks a bit surprising. Okay, so I'm going to move a site visit. Do I have a second? Thank you. Would anyone like to discuss the site visit? Councillor Martin.
I don't think we really need a site visit, given we can see quite clearly in those photos. And I think, judging by the gasps when they saw some of those photos, you might know which way it would probably go without the need for a site visit.
Councillor Winklis.
Thank you, Chair. I just slightly disagree with the previous speaker, but we've all got our views, obviously. I think a site visit is worthy of this, though it's a clear vision of the wall. I think we ought to have a step back once we get on site and look at the overall appearance that this is creating to that property, because as the chair has said and proposed this, that is very close to that property, and I have great concerns. So I will be back in the site visit. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
Thanks. I agree. A site visit probably is worth doing on this one. I won't vote for it because I probably won't be there. But I think what does need to be shown, though, whether it's now or on a site visit, is actually what height it should be and what it obviously is now, because that's obviously the difference you're going to be looking at, is that difference between what's already approved and what's been done. And there was a couple of measurements there, I think 0.8 and 0.4, was it? I think you just need to be clear on exactly what one is what, because if that's a 0.4 difference on that side, that's what you're going to be looking at. It would be big anyway, whatever happens. So just to be clear on that whenever the opportunity is.
Councillor Kavanagh.
looking at that one there, I presume the white bits at the top of that wall are the roof trusses or whatever the correct name for them. Surely the guttering or the water from the roof is going to come flying into Pine Lodge. It looks incredibly close. So I've got two questions. Has it been built closer than is allowed? And have the builders explained why they built higher than they were allowed to? Because surely that's quite a basic question. Thank you.
Do we have any clarity on that, please?
The builders, the owner of the site told me that in his view, the nursing home wasn't built as it should have been, which and they did say there was a discrepancy on levels at part of the site, which necessitated what they've done.
Anybody else? Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I definitely want to go and have a look at this one. It's can you fit a fag paper between those two walls? I do, probably not. And being a bit facetious, is that the same builder and architect that built Lidbrook Close?
Councillor Carnell. Possibly not an emergency. Do we actually have a gap analysis?
No.
No. Councillor Palmer?
In the other picture with the wall looking very, very close, is that like a window with some sort of bar thing over it that's looking out onto that garden?
No, that's like a mirrored window, which I believe, well, when I visited the nursing home, I think they've put that on the side of it. And I think it's a mirror so that it breaks it up for the residents of the nursing home, because that's an outside area for them to sit in. So it makes it look less large, bulky wall.
Okay, we'll take a vote then on the site visit. Those in favour of site visit, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those against? 1, 2. Those abstentions? Okay, a site visit it is. In the cold over Christmas. Yeah. So we will defer that item for a site visit. We will continue with 2.3 though. Same property. 502460. Can we have the officer's report?
Right. Okay, this application is a variation of condition 5 to allow a change of the reduction of the dwelling emission rates from 50% to 25%.
Okay, I'll move the officer's recommendation. Seconded, Councillor Hayden. Thank you, Councillor Vaughan. Anyone like to speak on this one? Councillor Martin.
Not a chance, I think, is the first thing here. If you can't build the building to the right height, how can we trust you as a developer to build it to the standards that we need? We declared a climate emergency. We said that it has to hit the standards, and I seem to recall we have precedent for this. If you look at the Bovis Homes, Linden Homes site on Western Link Road, what's known as Ospringe Gardens and Davington Fields, they built to the wrong size, the wrong roof heights, the wrong window sizes, and didn't meet the 50% reduction. And what we told them was, you'll have to move the residents out that you sold to and put it right to the plans that were approved, not the ones you wanted approved. Frankly, they should be delivering what they said they would deliver at the time.
Yeah, I would just like to draw Council's attention to item 7.9. In terms of a reduction in dwelling emission rates, the applicant has advised there is insufficient space to achieve a 50% reduction in emissions due to the design of a roof limiting the capacity. Anyone else? Councillor Thompson.
Well, it depends what materials you use. So if they knew what they had to adhere to, then they could change the materials and that could have been achieved. So I don't think that's an argument.
Would the officers like to say anything at this point?
Yeah. We were sort of fairly clear that this was going to be quite unpalatable for members putting this forward. But I mean, as the report sets out, we haven't got a policy which requires 50%, and we've lost. Well, there's been appeal decisions which have dealt with this issue, which have said that we haven't got a policy. So from an officer point of view, we've had to come here with a recommendation to approve the variation. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Is there a difference in these appeals where they have been appeals against us not giving permission? Or is there situations where applicants put in for 50%, saying they could deliver 50%, tried to get a reduction, we said no, and they won the appeal? Can you just clarity on that?
Yes, but it's been applications where this hasn't been the sole issue, but it's been dealt with as an issue in the round. But it's the former. But we actually do have a current appeal in relation to solely this condition. So it will be interesting, obviously, to see the outcome of that. We have a current appeal in that deals. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Hunt.
Do we know a date on that? Is it going to be something that's not going to come in quickly? Because it'd be good to know that before we go.
It's written reps, so it's how long a piece of string is.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Yep. Councillor Martin.
I was going to say, if we're doing a site visit for the other one, we could always do a site visit along with this one and see if the developer wants to actually talk about the potential means that can be used to reach the 50%.
No. Okay, I propose there's two options. There's to propose to defer pending the site visit. Not really going to be able to get much of a site visit about it, but maybe. Or do we defer pending the outcome of the appeal? How uncomfortable would you be with that, officers?
Suppose it leaves us open to non-determination. I think it leaves us open to possibly costs from not dealing with the application for sort of no other reason than we wanted to wait an undefined amount of time.
Councillor Hunt.
If everyone's minded to, surely we could just not agree with the officer's recommendation and not say anything else, and then let the developer come and negotiate if he wants to.
Yeah, but then we don't get a chance to judge on the other applicant. Would we get a chance if we said no? We could still do that, could we? Oh, right. Yes, we can do that, Councillor Hunt. Good idea. Anybody else? Okay. Councillor Hunt, would you like to make your proposal?
Suppose that we don't agree with the officer's recommendation.
Okay, seconded Councillor Martin. Those in favour? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Okay, and one abstention. I'm not, hang on. The reason for refusal being, Councillor Hunt?
That the developer agreed to 50% when it was discussed before, and they should stick with it. And if they don't want to do that, then go to appeal and argue the case.
Okay, so we have not accepted the officer's recommendation. Shall we defer decision until we take the decision on the other application? Okay, deferred until decisions. Councillor Hunt?
And deferring whilst at the same time the developer wants to take note, and whilst there's opportunity at a site visit, he can say something else and try and change our mind for next time.
All happy with that? Okay, did we actually vote for deferral? Okay, those in favour of deferral, please show. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next item is the appeals. And that's a very successful 7 out of 8 successful appeals. Good ratio. Yep. Anybody like to talk about any of them in particular? Councillor Winklis.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to mention on a general point. It's nice to see that most of these applications that we turn down, we have one on appeal. It does make quite a change, I think. So I'm quite happy with the outcome.
I think the notable one, or one of the notable ones, is the long-standing Havisham Memorial. Councillor Martin.
Funnily enough, that's the one I was going to mention. 5.6. I'm delighted to see this matter is finally done and dusted and hopefully put to bed, and that the former councillor that was pushing it forward may stop trying to push it forward, and perhaps something else can go into the middle of the memorial garden that doesn't desecrate what the people at the time wanted.
Well said. If there's no other comments, I'll bid you all good night and thank you. Thank you and good night.